What is up, everyone?
Hey, Damon, how you doing?
Doing good, man.
Good.
Can everybody? Make sure.
The first home next door that ported up. She said,
Oh. Okay.
We'll give everybody a chance to kind of funnel in.
Let me plug my phone directly into the computer.
Can everybody hear me? Am I echoing?
Echo.
You are echoing pretty bad.
Let me see if I can get that fixed.
Is the video still off? Vape God.
All right. Is it still giving an echo? What's going on? Is that it's super echo?
Damon, you're showing up twice on here. Are you on like maybe your computer and your phone?
Yeah, I am, right. I wanted to use the whiteboard today, and I can't put that together with my computer, I don't think, yeah. Unless, let me.
Hey, Damon, this is Violet's husband.
Hey.
Hey, one of the things that I do is I put headphones. And then it'll muffle if you have like two things interacting at once. At least you have the sound going through your headphones, and it won't go through the microphone.
Let me give that a try. Yeah, one sec, guys. I will get this sorted. Hold on. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. I need to get some headphones that I can put on and see if I can hear it. One second, guys. So. Does that help at all?
Yeah, I don't hear the echo. You're a little quiet now, but echo's definitely gone.
Is that
Okay,
all?
so. All right, so if the echo is
I don't hear-
gone, did that kill the echo, guys? Or at least it seems like it killed the echo.
Mm.
Really? Or now I'm just super quiet. Okay, so maybe we can get going, and if it's still echoing, just let me know and I can kill it. I had really wanted to use a whiteboard today. I figured that we could go into, maybe a little something for the new folks. So what I had thought about doing is maybe talking a little bit about what creative finance is, and then maybe like towards the end we can get into if anybody's got new deals. I have a couple of deals coming on the table. So let's just try to get started, guys. Like, what is sub 2, right? So does, and I'm going to kind of open this up for everybody that's got their mics. You guys are welcome to take those mics off and kind of give me like what your interpretation of creative finance is. Ray, Matt, any of you guys? So nobody. So that's okay. So we can talk about it just a little bit, right? Whenever I go into a deal, I look first and foremost for exactly how I'm going to go about the deal, right? So first is always cash. And second is going to be creative. Cash is always king. Creative always comes second, right? And so whenever I'm doing cash, and the reason why I thought I would go into this is because I've had quite a few people lately asking me how I get there, right? Like, well, if you're going to put in a cash offer, how do you get there? Well, first and foremost, I have to find a max and a min, right? And generally when I'm looking towards a max, it's an 80%. And this might change, with your area. It might be 85, it might be 75, but that is part of getting to know your area. And then for here, it would be 70%. And whenever I'm looking at this, this initial offer, right, I want to find an ARV. So whenever I come in and I look at a house, and let's say I've got a house on the MLS that's listed at 100K. Let me do this real quick and make sure for the chat. But hopefully everybody's hearing it okay. Maybe there's a little bit of a delay, but can everybody just let me know if they're actually hearing this or not?
I'm hearing you okay. Yep.
Okay, great. All right. So first and foremost, I'm looking on the MLS, or I'm going for a deal that's off market. It really doesn't matter, but I've got this deal that's 300 or that's 100K, right? And I need to find out if that 100K price is a good price, if it's off, what the variance in that price is. So I look to the ARV, and let's say, I look at 3 different houses in the area, right? And I come up with a comp for an after repair value. Okay. All right, so now I'm looking towards this after repair value, and I come up with my comps, and I find out that there were some deals in the area that had been sold, for 300,000, and everything looks good at that price. So 300,000 is my price, right? So now that everybody kind of understands that, I'm gonna erase some of this. And I'm gonna figure out, based on this 300K ARV, if this 100K price is a legitimate price or not. So how do I do that? I take 300K, it'll be 300,000. I subtract 70%. I then subtract my repair costs. I then subtract my holding costs. I then subtract my closing costs, and I subtract my wholesale fee, assignment fee. You might hear this called a few different things. Does that make sense to everyone so far? And I know that this may be really basic for some of you. It may not be super basic for some of you. I'm kind of starting from the basics and working our way out from there, and maybe looking at, you know, a sub-2 student and how I go about these deals. And then you may be able to get, you know, some more feedback today from other sub-2 students and how we go about looking for them, finding them, coming to the price, all of that, right? So then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to look at this 300,000 and I'm going to go 80%. And I'm going to go whatever repairs are, but these two numbers are very different numbers for me. This is a completely flipped, completely renovated. The very first one here, this is completely flipped, completely renovated. So let's say on this 300K that it costs 80K for us to completely flip it and turn it into a masterpiece. And then on this other one, we just want to get it repaired to the standard of a renter. I'm not trying to completely repair this house. I'm just trying to get it to a good rentable value. And let's say that maybe that's half of what this above value is. And then I've got holding costs, closing costs, and an assignment fee, right? So as everybody can see, this is going to give me my max. This is going to give me my min. So let's add these up and let's figure out exactly what these look like. So if I take 300,000 times 70%, that's 210. 210 less 80,000, that's 130. Now, to do an 80K repair, for me, I go 40, 60, oh, mistake. So I go 40, 60, 80, 100, 120 plus. I know that a $30,000 to $40,000, and I kind of put some leeway here. $30,000 to $40,000 repair is going to take me between 1 to 2 months. 60 is 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6 plus. These will generate my holdover costs. So let's say on this $300,000 house that I know that this house will rent for $2,500, right? This is my rent. And this is, again, guys, I do a very basic workup on these. I don't spend time getting caught in the weeds on, you know, sitting there for hours trying to come up with the cost on these houses. I've been doing construction for so long that for me, I can look at pictures of a house and I can generate very, very quickly exactly how much the repairs on that house are going to be. Now that's me. Some people, it may take a little bit longer. Some people, it may take a little less, but that comes with experience. So I know on this 80K that this is going to take me about 4 months to repair. So I take the rent that I'm going to be missing, right? We know it's going to be 10K. My math skills are terrible, so work with me. So I know my holding costs will be 10K. I know my closing costs will be 9%, but for this, we're going to go with 10 just so I can get a good round number, right? So we know that this will be 30K. And I know that my assignment fee is going to be somewhere between $10,000 and $13,000 on average. So it's going to be 10K. So if I'm coming up with this price, I know that at 130,000, less 10, less 30, less another $10,000, right? So for me, my absolute minimum would be 80,000. So if I do all of this, I know that my absolute min is 80K. AF and WF. Oh, assignment fee, wholesale fee. That's called a couple of different things. Yeah. So I know what my min is, right? So I've got my min, and I promise guys, I'll clean this up so it looks a little bit easier on the eyes, but I just kind of want to make sure everybody's kind of got my process down. And if you need me to go back and cover stuff, I certainly can. So on the other one, we know it's 300,000 times 80%. We know that that gives us 240. And I know that my repairs are going to be 40 on this one. So that gives us 200. I know my closing or my holding cost for 40K is going to be 1 to 2 months. So that's going to be 5K. I know my closing costs are the same, and I know my assignment fee will be the same. So I come up with 240,000. That minus that gives me 200,000 minus the 5K minus the 30K minus the 10K, and there's 155. That's my max. So what I'd love to hear is if any of the other sub two students have a different way that they go about this. So can anybody unmute and kind of tell me, is your process somewhat the same as mine? Is my process completely off? I think this brings a lot of value to people. Hey, Lance, can you unmute?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah.
This looks great, man. It's smart. We haven't actually had a formula quite like this, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we used to use sorry, I have like strep throat right now. So we used to use the Mayo, and I still kind of use it, but it's just a quick version. You take the ARV and then you minus the repairs, and then it's been a while. And then you take 70% of that. And I could have that backwards. Shows how recently I've used it.
But yeah, we use like a bigger pockets calculator too for a lot of our deals, potential deals. It's just easy to plug in the numbers.
Okay.
And so it's essentially supposed to do the same thing. It's
Yeah,
supposed to
this is
take
good.
out, closing costs, holding costs, any unknowns. I like yours a lot better though.
Yeah. It's simple.
And again, right, I certainly don't think mine is the end all be all. It's probably got problems. But I think what I tell people, right, is that this is almost like the napkin underwriting,
Right,
right? This gets me to a max and a min, and I know that I've got, at least a little bit of room in between a cash flip price and a cash buy and hold price. And that for me is helpful because then I can very quickly get on the phone, with that agent or whatever, and I can start to have a conversation. And, of course, hey, they're open to a cash offer, great, maybe a creative offer, whatever it may be, but I can go back and probably do a deeper, more involved underwrite on this if that's what I want to do, right? And look at the cash price. But I can tell you overall that I've stood this next to quite a few people, and I'm pretty close. I mean, a lot of the times I may be, 5 or 10K off by just doing the napkin underwrite.
Sweet.
yeah,
So for me, it's about, because I see a lot of people that are new spending a ton of time in this area. And I'm thinking to myself, gosh, you've got to make 100 to 150 phone calls a week, have 10 to 15 meaningful conversations to close 2 to 3 deals a month. Like, you got to get in there and make those calls. You don't have time to sit and just deep underwrite every deal.
Agreed.
All right. So does everybody kind of have this? I mean, I don't know. I hope it's meaningful. But for me, the cash offer and kind of how I get there, that's always the first road. That's always the first avenue, right? And so then I'm gonna move on. And so for me, let's say I've gotten my cash, I've gotten this, but neither offer seems to make any sense to them, which 90% of the time, you're going to hear probably every sub 2 in here tell you that, out of 100 phone calls, 90% of those are going to be no's, right? And then if you'll get like the 10% that are yeses, and then out of that 10%, you might get 1 or 2% that might actually come to close. So outside of this, that then brings us to creative deals, right? And let's talk a little bit again, thinking about the people that are new in the room and might not totally understand what us sub 2 students are talking about when we talk about creative deals. I like to personally think of them in a few different ways. So obviously first there is sub 2. Sub 2 for me equals pain. If there is pain, it is probably going to be a sub 2. Now, I like to think of seller finance as no pain. These are owners that don't necessarily, they're not suffering. They're probably going to want a full market price or above, right? Or more. So these are our 2 basics, but we also get, and not to expand too far outside of this, because we will definitely go further into, as I go into this, novation agreements, executory contracts. I mean, there are a world, about 27, 28 different ways that you can get into these deals. But let's look at the basics, right? So if one is sub 2 and 2 is seller fi, I like to think of my 3 as a hybrid. somewhere between or some mixture of sub 2 and seller 5. So if sub 2 equals pain and seller finance equals no pain, then people say, well, then how do we get to the hybrid? Are they in pain? Are they not in pain? Well, maybe there's a mixture of both, right? So let's talk about this third one. And I'm going to go through a deal that I am currently working on, which will be coming to a market near you soon. Okay. Everybody understands cash. Now we're going to move strictly into creative. And I'm sorry for my hen scratch. I am needing to get to the next level to Pace's whiteboarding abilities where I can make my lines a little thicker and all that, but I'm just learning whiteboarding, so give me a break, right? So if I'm doing a hybrid deal, it might look something like this. Oops. I have a friend, and she is a realtor, funny enough, and she owns a home. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, but that's not necessarily important. But I know that this house rents for $1,600 a month. And I know that her current pity is $883. And I also know that her current loan on the house is about $89,000. It is an FHA loan. Now, how did this come to me as a creative deal? Well, this realtor in the current market is suffering. She has a ton of equity in this house because this house is worth $215,000 full market value. But the problem is that this realtor is now $1,948 in arrears. And because the market is having all kinds of problems, I don't know if everybody can see that. Let me reduce just a bit. So she's currently got arrears of $1,948. And because she's a realtor, she is suffering. She's not closing any houses. She's now in arrears, and she is looking at going back to her former career. She is in the midst of a career change. So initially when I came in and I talked to her, I thought, well, sub 2, right? She's in pain. I can take over the loan. Yep, exactly. Yeah, so she's in pain. I could take over the loan. I could pay for the arrears. And I kind of felt her out in that conversation, right? There was this initial, Paul Blair is wanting to get into the meeting. Everybody, welcome. Hey, Paul, can you hear me? Hey, Paul, can you hear me?
I can. How you doing?
Doing well. Hey, everybody, welcome Paul Blair. He is my broker in Dallas. Phenomenal guy. Everybody should get to know him. He loves to work with sub 2s, creative finance, and loves to work with like wholesalers and everything. So
Yeah, I do. Work with everybody. Great. Thanks for having me.
yeah, no problem. So initially coming into this deal, right? She's a realtor. She's suffering. She is looking at going into a career change because she's not selling houses. She's now $1,948 in arrears on a $215,000 market house, $89,000 left on the loan, $883 pity payment, $1,600 rent. And initially I thought to myself, well, this would make for a sub-2 deal. But I was kind of leaving something out, right? Because she's got a ton of equity in this house. And I can't just tell her I'm not going to give you anything for your equity, right? So I then started talking with her a little bit further about seller finance. And what I told her is I will come in and I will take over this $89,000 and I will look to give you as close to fair market value on your house as what I can. And I believe that what we have come to is $210,000. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to seller finance the rest of this to her. So $89,000 less $210,000. Let me break out my calculator because I can't think that fast, right? So if I've got 210,000 and I subtract 89,000, I know that I've got 121,000 left. So I'm willing to seller finance this with her, 0% interest over a 40-year amortized loan. Roughly speaking, the payments are going to be about $231 a month, I believe, if I remember that correctly. So if I take the 231 and I add the 883 to it, I know that that's $1,114 per month, right? That's one is owed to the current loan, one is owed as a payment to her. So if I take that 1,114 and I subtract it from the 1,600, yeah, sorry if you can't see what I'm writing. Anybody have any idea how to scroll the whiteboard up? This is my first experience with the whiteboard on Zoom.
For me, I'm able to just click on the screen and move it around. So I could move over to the left if it's cut off.
Same here. I can just move it myself. I can just move it around.
Okay. So you said just click on the screen with the pen and then move it.
Well, I can click on it with my mouse on my screen and move it around. And so I can scroll up or down without you having to move it.
I'm doing my whiteboard on an iPad.
Yeah, I don't think you have to do anything, David. I think it's on us. We just have to scroll over if we can't see.
So here's what I'll do. I'll erase some of this and I'll clean it up just a bit for everyone. That if that's helpful. And I promise, guys, I'll get better with my whiteboarding abilities because I want to make sure if I'm teaching this stuff that everybody's getting the most value out of it that they possibly can. All right, so we know we have a sub-2, seller fi, 89,000 current loan, and I'm going to give her 210,000. I am going to sub-2 this current existing loan, which is $883 a month. And then I am going to do a 0% 40-year amortized loan to her, which is roughly $231 per month. We add those together, it's $1,114. Subtract that from my 1,600. I think that leaves me about 628 bucks a month in cash flow. Now, great question. Is there a balloon? Yes. So she does eventually want to get ballooned out of this deal. But the way that I came with that is I said, okay, I'll do a 7-year balloon. I'll do a 7-year balloon. And I will refi you out of this deal. Now, what I told her is that if I come with a 7-year balloon and I've got to refi you out of this deal, I'm obviously going to have to pay a down payment for that, right? Which means that, yeah, I'm doing my best, guys, with the margins. It's a little hard, and I promise next week I will get better at this. I promise you. But hopefully it's bringing some kind of value. So, all right. So let's look at this being. I think what I'll do, adjust this just a little bit. So what I'll say is, all right, I'm going to do a 7-year balloon, We know we've got 80, we know we've got 89. There we go. Now it's a little bit better. And I know that I'm going to do 121,000, 231, 883 for this, 1114 total, less the 1,600. I know that this thing will cash flow $628 a month for me. And then I know that in 7 years, I'm going to balloon her out, right? But I use that as a tool, and I said, well, if I'm going to balloon you out in 7 years, I'm going to have to refi that, and I'm going to have to put a down payment. So that means that I can't bring you as big of an upfront down payment as what I want to, right? So normally speaking, on things like this, I do not like to go outside of 10% of the ARV. So if this home, we came to the conclusion, was 210,000, I know that my max on this house is going to be 21,000. Now, again, I use that as a bargaining tool. And what I did is I came with a 5% down. So I gave her $11,000 up front, knowing that I'll make $628 for the next 7 years on this thing. And then I'll come and I'll refi her out at the end of that 7 years. And I know that I'm going to have to come with probably a 20% down payment there, but it will be a 20% down payment based on a principal only loan. So I'm going to be paying all of this $628 that I make back into this loan, I'm not going to take a whole lot of money out of this house. I'm going to chip away at that principal only loan. And then when I come back in this 7-year mark and I refi, that 20% down will be next to nothing. And additionally, on this deal, at the 7-year mark, I also told her, I want to put a performance clause because you want me to refine you out. I want a performance clause in this that gives me a 2-year push, right? That basically states if I don't appreciate, I get to push this 7 years, 2 additional years. So I've got the potential to balloon her out in 9 years total. That's a one-shot deal. And generally speaking, I'm only using that if my interest rates don't come down to 4%. And that's really what I'm looking for, right? The 4% mark or somewhere close to this original loan, which is at 375. Does that make sense? Does everybody kind of understand what I'm doing there?
Yeah, that's making sense to me.
Okay.
I do have a couple questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You're saying you're getting 628 for cash flow, but the difference between 1,600 and 1114 is 486.
Oh wait, did I add that wrong? So 1,600 minus 1114. Yeah. So 486, man. My bad.
Okay. I just didn't know if there was something that we were missing or if it was just a math error.
You're totally right.
Okay.
And I'm trying to add up numbers while I do.
Oh
that.
yeah, you're fine, no problem. And then
And so-
this. Oh, sorry. Go.
And so additionally, right, in looking at that, and I remember now I had that conversation with her, is that, well, you know, I've got to get these payments low enough so that I cash flow, you know, at minimum 500 bucks a month. You know, that's really where I want to be. Would I take it at 400? Sure. Right? Would I take it at 500? Sure. But what I've got her open to is possibly extending this so that I can lower the payments. So, you know, if I did this 0% to 40 years, I could probably, if I really wanted to, take her out to 50 years at 0%. Because she's still going to get the balloon in 7, right? And she's getting the $11,000 up front, which takes care of the pain. Plus I'm paying off the arrears. Plus I'm paying for closing, all of it. Let me admit somebody in the room real quick. So I'm taking care of all of those upfront costs. And so, yeah, right. I'm still negotiating a bit with this person, but I can tell you she's ready to pull the trigger on a purchase contract. We're just getting there on the numbers. So to answer your question, at 486, if I can push that payment higher, right, with a 50-year and balloon her out in 7, I'm certainly going to try to do it. So let me answer the rest for you. Was that Matt that was asking?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to try to push the cash flow a little higher. What was my other question?
I think mainly if everybody, whoever might be new to creative finance, right, it's to understand the foundation. This is just one deal. I can set terms really in any shape, form, or fashion that I want them to be. And it's showing like some of the new folks that just because just because sub 2 or just because seller finance, it doesn't mean that they're singular entities, right? I can sub 2 and seller finance. I can put those things together and accumulate a deal with that, right? Now, what I'd love to hear is if any of the other sub 2s in the room have maybe a different way that they might go about situating this type of deal. Like, you know, I know Juan is super experienced. I know Lance and Jesse both write deals. You know, it's the same for you guys, Lance and Jesse. Okay, well, that's good. I know we're not too far off the the mark then. And then I think, you know, Juan, is it the same for you? Same for you too, Matt? Good. And then Juan, I'd love to hear from you, man. Is this kind of the same way that you would attack or approach this? Maybe Juan's just listening and that's okay. So, yeah, so basically what I wanted is for some of the new people in the room to kind of understand how when we first go after these deals, when we are first, and I, you know, hopefully everybody's got this, I can kind of get rid of it now. But when we first go after these deals, you know, there's a, or these potential deals, should I say, there's a process that I follow. And my process is generally, right, I want to know, one, is it cash? Because we can do cash all day long, and you know, we can certainly find buyers for those cash deals, and those are easy. But the second one that we want to figure out is the creative side of the house, right? If I can get this without having to do a cash deal, then I'm assuredly going to do that. But there are some that will not take anything less than a cash offer. And are these cash offers extraordinarily low? but I think personally, it's because many people are doing them incorrectly, right? And much like I showed earlier in the cash deal, there is a max at 70% or a min at 70% and a max at 80%. And if people are not doing both of those, if you're not finding a if you're not finding a min and a max, you don't know how you can play with that deal. And so you're going in and you're saying, okay, I'm going to give you, for this $300,000 house, after everything that we showed, I'm going to give you $80,000. Well, most sellers they're going to laugh at you and they're going to turn you away. There's no way I'm going to pay that much for the house. Well, but did you ever, did some folks ever think that the buy and hold was something too, right? And so, maybe that pushes this price a little bit higher, up to 150,000 or whatever, right? Maybe they're willing to take the higher cash offer for the buy and hold. Well, but on the buy and hold, you're looking for a different buyer too. Generally speaking, on the 70%, you're looking for a fix and flip buyer, somebody who's going to come in. They can come in with a hard money or private money. They can flip that house, turn it over, make money on it. It's a very different kind of deal. Most that are buying them at the 80% buy and hold, these are what I like to call true cash buyers. They are deep pockets. They're going to come in. They don't mind paying, a little bit higher cash price because they're going to sit on it. They're going to pass taxes through it. They don't mind a 6%, cash on cash return for 3 or 4 or 5 years because they know that eventually this house will make them money. I am not that kind of buyer. I know that I personally am a fix and flip buyer. I also know that, like between me and Paul, we have, pretty good list of cash buyers, and some of those buyers are hedge funds. Some of those buyers are, very, very wealthy, guys. I know a guy here in the Montgomery County area who owns a little over 200 doors, and he will literally go down to the auction and just buy houses in cash, right? Because he can do that. I am not that kind of buyer. I know that I'm going to have to bring hard money or private money to the table. And for me, that's okay because I can get into the cash deals for as little money up front as is humanly possible. And then I come in and I flip it and I make my money on the back end, right? Now, personally, for me, I'm not saying that I won't do these cash deals, but right now with this market, it's got to be a pretty deep discount for me to get into it, because I know that I know that the market isn't going to stay here forever, but we're still in a bit of a downward trend. So if I get into a house and I've got to take 4 or 5 months to fix and flip that house, it is realistic that the price of that house, the ARV that I initially started with, is going to be lower, and it's eating into the money that I have to put into that deal. So personally, I feel like I have to be very careful when I get into fix and flip deals. On the creative side, I don't really have to do that. I am more than willing on a seller finance deal, on the right seller finance deal, guys, and especially y'all have seen that with the 69 unit apartment complex that we're going after, which we'll talk a little bit about too towards the end of the sun. But on these seller finance deals, for the right seller finance deal, I'm willing to pay above market value. Somebody wants $30,000 over what the house is worth. Sure. If you give me the right terms, if I can get into it with very little money down, 100%, right? I will definitely come in and do that deal. So I just kind of wanted people to see maybe the potential, just the beginning. We'll go more and more and more into this. And I definitely want to get in and cover something that, funny enough, I was watching Pace, and he kind of got into it with one of his meetings, but it's doing short sales with UCC ones, where I can basically go into an agreement, much like kind of like a novation agreement, but not. Basically, I hold the deed, but I hand it over to a contractor and I say, look, contract, like I bought it at 50 cents on the dollar with a short sale. I give it to the contractor at that price. There are some specific guidelines on short sales, and Paul would probably know more about that than me, but I know that there are some specific laws on selling short sales. But with a UCC one, I can hand it off to that contractor and I can tell him, look, I'll give you 75% of the profit and I'll take 25%. So when that contractor goes to sell it, he makes the 75% of the profit on it. I make my 25%, and I really didn't have to do anything. So we'll go into that a little bit more, because I'm still trying to find out some of the specific guidelines on that. But I think that it could be a really advantageous way of going, maybe getting into deals where you can do fix and flips on them in a market like this. So that being said, let's talk. Let me leave this, and then I will come back onto my computer because I don't need the whiteboard anymore. So let's talk just a little bit, guys. I'm going to share my screen about the deal that we turned in for this 69 unit apartment complex. I just want to update everybody. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yep, loud and clear.
Awesome. So I put this out on the Collective Creative, and hopefully everybody got to take a look briefly at the email that we got involved in with the broker. And so after me and Justin sat and did some, a lot of deep underwriting on this thing, we really did some back and forth. We have come to an offer that the broker is, I believe, satisfied with at least taking to the seller. And I do believe, with the way that we've laid it out, that the seller is possibly interested. All right. He's checking a few things with his attorney, as he should. But at this point, we've got a $4.5 million purchase price, 5.1 or 5.81% cap, with, I believe, a 7-year hold on this one, moving it to 6.2% cap. The way that we are looking at situating this loan, we gave 3 different scenarios. I think everybody saw that. One is a sub 2 with a existing loan on $500K, 2% down to the owner, $150K to the broker, 3% in closing costs, seller finance on the remaining 2%, on the remainder at 2% interest, with the first 5 years interest only at a 40-year term. Of course, me having the asset management or the property management company, I would be doing the property management, since this is in Nassau Bay. It's 40 minutes for me. So doing the property management will lower the expenses tremendously. And then the other one, the other scenario was the sub 2, $150K to broker, 3% closing. The seller finance, the full remainder at 2%, first 5 years interest only, 4 years. But the 2% payment down to the owner would be run as a consultancy fee through a company. We would create an LLC with the owner, and we would pay that as a consultancy fee, half down the first year, half down the second year. So basically, that means that the owner would be able to back out of the deal with very little capital gains tax being due, which is a huge incentive for him, because the deal that we're currently offering will save him 15 to 20%. So you're looking at 700,000 to $1 million. So the initial asking price of 5.5 million doesn't make sense if we're offering you the savings in capital gains tax. And that's our approach with it. And then of course, the last scenario was the sub 2 150K to broker 3% in closing. Seller finance on the full remainder to include the seller's down payment. We would basically work all of that into the down payment, probably put some towards CapEx. And this would be, kind of the same thing, back him out with probably 0 in capital gains tax. So in taking this to the broker just had some, really some final questions about, about the company structure, about the sub 2, in terms of taking it over. He wanted to know that if we were going to assume or sub 2 the loan, that, if we didn't perform, what would be put in place. Again, we told him that we could put a performance clause in that stated, we have a 30-day performance. So if for 30 days we don't perform, on the 31st day, he takes that back, no foreclosure, no eviction. So it leaves the owner in a really advantageous spot if we don't perform the way that we say that we can. The last piece of this is, and kind of kept that close to the hip, but in terms of private money, it looks like, so I have a family member that has about $4 million in just liquid cash, and so we would have the ability to do this without trying to bring a lot of private money to the table. And we wanted to be careful with that, right? Because as we came into the deal, we didn't want to have to get caught up in possible SEC violation by trying to bring multiple investors into the deal. There's really no place in this deal for doing any kind of a syndication. I don't think it would be possible on this deal. So even in bringing in private money, we want to try to keep it pretty close to the hip, probably, either 1 to 5 investors, and they're all going to probably be within the sub 2 community. So hopefully that will keep us out of the weeds with, trying to bring in multiple investors. So does anybody have questions on where we're kind of currently at with that 69 unit deal? None heard. This is a quiet room today.
Yeah, I think that all makes sense. I think it's pretty cool how you broke all that down, creating like 3 different scenarios. I think that's really helpful for me to see, at least.
Well, and too, keep in mind, guys, this is not the end. This is not necessarily the end of this, right? We are sending 3 scenarios to the broker, which lets him know that we are on the table and we want to negotiate, but we want to negotiate under some realistic terms, right? The 5.5 asking price is just too high. It doesn't get us where we need to be. And if we can take these scenarios to the owner, I think the owner will realize, well, this makes sense. It's a win for me, but there might be some additional negotiation in there. But that's really the key to it, right? We formulated 3 scenarios that let them know, we are willing to negotiate this deal, but we've got to get to a place that's advantageous for all of us, not just him. So I suspect that the broker is going to take this to him. We just sent out another email with a couple of minor explanations in it. And I think that the broker's intent at this point is to deliver it to the seller. And we're gonna see where we're at. And if we can at least get the seller on the table and talking, I really believe that there is potential here to do a deal. So, you know, I think at the end of the day for this group, it would mean that, you know, a few people in the group would obviously have the potential to get ownership in a multifamily deal. It'll put a multifamily deal on your resume, which is important. So hopefully that's been beneficial for everyone. I just kind of wanted to keep everybody in the loop. So everybody good? Everybody, like, anybody have any questions? Anything that we didn't touch on?
Damon, I'm just, real quick. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I was just doing the math. So of course there's the broker fee and closing costs, but you're offering 2%. That's like 90 grand.
Yeah, so we've lowered the owner's down payment because of the seller finance and the injection that he would get across the company, right? So
For sure. And it all makes sense. It pencils out. It's bold. And that's just bold off of my limited perspective.
Sure.
And since you do this a lot more, I was just kind of a little tripped out that 90,000. I mean, you know what, maybe 250,000, 300 when all is said and done, but that's cool.
yeah, so, but you know, the owner may not go for it. He may come back with something else, but you know, what is the reality of this deal? We know that, you know, this particular owner is old. He wants out. He doesn't want to have to deal with the running of this business, but he owns a 69 unit complex. He's not necessarily hurting for money. What we gathered from the broker was that the down payment that he was looking for initially, how it was structured, was to pay off the sub two, or was to pay off the existing loan. He was going to use the down payment to pay off the existing loan. I think what no one was telling him in that, well, when you get the down payment, you're going to have to pay capital gains tax on it, and then you're going to want to put it towards the loan. What we're telling him is that we can get you out of the loan altogether. Sub two, we'll take that over. That won't be a worry. And then we're going to give you a down payment that you don't have to pay any taxes on. No taxes, right? So he will take a lower down payment because he knows over time, you know, on a 30 or 40-year loan, not only he's getting paid, but his kids are getting paid, and he doesn't really have to deal with any of the workings of the apartment complex anymore, right? So that was kind of our thinking, Jess, when we went into that. And he may very well come back and say, you know, no, we want a larger down payment, you know, we want some different terms. But I think and mainly, as long as we can stay within that 4.5 asking price, there's a lot of negotiation that can be done, right?
For sure. And it, at the very least, is a conversation starter.
It's a conversation starter, right?
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. It's just it's cool to watch this.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And it's a realistic offer. We're making a very realistic offer. None of this offer is outside of the scope of reality, right? We're not coming to the table like, you know, we want something for nothing, right? And I think that's what is most important to the owner. He wants to know that somebody's here to talk realistic terms and do business, and hopefully, right, that is the approach that we've given, and I think it is. So
yeah.
I feel good about it. I'll tell you that. We are definitely getting. I think I really think after the email that we've sent, we are going to be in probably negotiation with the owner at that point. Which is a great place to be, right? Once the broker trusts the deal and is ready to get us on the table, we will more than likely come into, like a three-way call with the owner, the broker, possibly attorneys there. But yeah, it gets that conversation with the owner started. Cool, guys. Well, I hope, like always, that all of this
Amen.
brought value to everyone. Sorry.
Daniel had a question in the chat.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, it was just real quick about do you always do that many scenarios, or is that really just to kind of calibrate where the owner is going to land so you can know where to focus?
Yeah, so I will generally bring 3 scenarios in a deal like this. I will generally bring 3 scenarios to the table, but I could do more. It depends on the parameters of the deal and kind of how many scenarios you can generate that are still kind of within the parameters of what you're wanting to do. But I at least feel like 3 scenarios tells the broker and the owner, we're here to negotiate. We're here to come to a deal, but the deal has to be realistic, right? Based on the numbers. And so I feel like in this particular deal, 3 scenarios is enough to open up a realistic conversation.
Cool, thanks.
But it doesn't have to be 3. It could be 5, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be, whatever you feel is legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good opening salvo so that you're not just overwhelming them with, everything.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yes. So anybody else, by the way, again, I hope guys that this brought value tonight. I'm trying to get better and better and better at this. I'm new. I appreciate everybody, coming in and working with me through my technical difficulties. I promise I'll have the whiteboard issue worked out the next time, because I think that's a cool tool where, we can come in and whiteboard and really show some of this stuff for people. And then like also on top of that, I did make contact, man. I guess I really dropped the ball in the beginning on getting myself interjected with the other sub 2 leaders, but I'm actually getting in a meeting tonight with the other sub 2 leaders, here on Zoom at 7, which will get me into the Discord, which will then get me intertied, hopefully with the VA. So it's taken me a little while, but I think that I've made some leeway there. So hopefully I can talk with somebody about that tonight, and see if that VA is an option for us. And then remember, guys, we're coming into the next elephant challenge, and I believe Violet, you found the date for that next elephant challenge, didn't you?
Yeah, Carly had it posted as, I believe it was the last 2 days of January and February 1st. It's in the Facebook group.
Okay. So we'll continue to keep everybody updated on that, because assuredly, the next elephant challenge is going to bring new people into the group, and I want to be kind of firing on all cylinders so that we can take off and not run into all the technical difficulties that we did in the beginning. So hopefully that I'm kind of ironing all of that stuff out for everyone. My last thing is Lance and Jesse on that 16 unit. Did you guys make any leeway on that thing?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
So I emailed it to you because I think by now we all know that my Wi-Fi is garbage.
Right.
And I did do some changes in it. I think I might have to start my, maybe create my own Excel sheet off the Facebook page. And I just have to check there areas that I don't apply. So I think Justin setting up property in County, and it can be split into 2 pieces. it's on lots on 3 feet, the third lot. So it is on 3 separate lots, but it has to be replatted. And that could, you start 6,500 and go up from there. And they're about 4 to 6 weeks out. So
Okay,
that could be done with a reasonable amount of time.
okay, cool.
Uh,
Well, just keep me
The,
posted and, you know, if you guys need help with that thing, you know, just let me know.
Yes, I sent you a text. I have a Zoom.
You're
I'd
breaking
love
up
to
again.
chat when I will text you.
Oh, man, no problems, yeah. Okay, guys, well, I appreciate everybody coming. I hope it brings value, and yeah, please, if any of you guys have stuff that you would like for me to cover, anything that you would, you know, think would bring value to the group, please bring it. You know, I'm happy to cover all of those things. Yeah, underwriting for sure. I tried to cover a little bit of that tonight, Violet. I'm starting small and working my way big. But I think, are you talking about multifamily underwriting there, Violet?
Yes, multifamily.
Okay, multifamily, yeah. So why don't we look at doing, yeah, some of that next week? Did that course help you at all, Violet?
I'm still going through it, so I haven't gone through the underwriting yet for the multifamily.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. So 100%, yeah, and Pace, by the way, is bringing in an underwriter full-time. And he is going to start having multifamily / residential underwriting classes, I believe 2 or 3 times a week, if I'm correct about that. So yeah, I can't wait for that. It's going to improve my skills in that area. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. And then on top of it, Pace paid for tickets to HostCon, which is the Airbnb, like here for all the Houston sub 2 members. Unbelievable. He just bought 20 tickets at $997 a piece for an Airbnb. It's basically like an Airbnb conference. So it's gonna, you know, go in depth on how to get into Airbnb and how to structure those deals. So I can't wait for that. June 8th through the 10th. 100%. I will be bringing back tons of information from that thing. So there's just so much to cover, guys. I mean, Airbnb, multifamily underwriting, residential, creative deals. And so any of this stuff that y'all are interested in, please bring it to the table. And I will try to cover it. Cool. All right, guys, I'll talk with everybody soon. I appreciate you coming.
Hey, Damon, just quick little note. I did send you an email on that PML deal that I was talking to you about previously. So,
Okay.
and be looking out for a couple more because I did get some more leads from a couple of other folks asking for PML.
Sweet, man. Yeah. Why don't me and you look at, hey, do you have my Calendly one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Let's look at scheduling something and actually physically sitting down and taking a look at that email offline. That way me and you can kind of focus in on it.
Sounds good.
Give me all the parameters and then we will start an underwrite on it.
Okay. Sounds great.
Cool. Thanks, Juan. Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone. I appreciate it. Hey, thanks for coming, Paul. I appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy, that was great. Thanks. Sorry, I was on a call for the last
I
couple
hope you
minutes.
got, I hope you got something out of it. I hope it wasn't too boring.
Oh, I did. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Damon.
Thanks, Damon.
Bye.
Have a good night.